Welcome to the 2023 International Biocuration Conference held in Padua, Italy. In this workshop entitled Gaining Perspective Towards Enhancing the Intersection of Biocuration and Machine Learning, we've invited members of the Alliance of Genome Resources and the OBO Foundry to discuss the challenges and approaches used to automate curation activities through machine learning approaches, the lessons learned from these activities, and how the biocuration and machine learning communities can work more productively together. Two panels will be presented today. First, the panel on biocuration, machine learning, and literature triage, moderated by Sue Bello from Mouse Genome Informatics. And the second panel, biocuration, machine learning, and mapping data between resources, moderated by Lynn Schriml from the Human Disease Ontology. The workshop and panelists' discussions are presented here as a series of videos, and the audio will start shortly. Thank you.
The panelists can see them here on screens as well. So we have left it quite purposely open so that panelists can pick and choose between the questions, or audience members can ask about things. We really want this to be a dialogue. We are recording it, we'll post it on YouTube, but at the same time, we really want to start to, this is a thought exercise, get the ideas out there. And we're not intending that we're going to walk away from solutions today or even the next workshop, but at least we get the discussion started and where can we move forward. And there's a lot of points, there's 11, I think, or so. Let's see, and we'll put them back up. And there's a Google Doc that we made available through the Slack that has all of this as well. Yep, oh, 12, okay. Okay, so Sue's gonna lead the next bit. So Sue will have a short introduction, we'll have that panel, then I'll have a short introduction and the second panel. So just a moment.
And the panelists can make their way up to the stage when they want to. Here for this first one, I'll have to go back into the questions at the end. Like your
All right, good morning. So we're going to start with machine learning and literature curation, which is something as a curator I have spent many years trying to get to work. It's something, we'd like to get as much of the sort of drudge work of getting the papers in and getting them categorized out of our hands as possible. And I think almost every database out there that handles literature has attempted to do this. And as Lynn mentioned from the survey, like I listed a couple up there because at least 2 people had mentioned trying that approach. But there were so many approaches, it would have taken multiple slides to list them all. Everybody keeps trying everything. So why do we want this? Well, I think we all are fairly familiar with this. There's too many papers, there's too few people. We need to, and our funders want us to increase efficiency, reduce cost. So that's sort of, our motivation. And at least from this side, I tried to think about the tasks that at MGI, so at Mouse Genome Informatics, we've tried to apply this to. So just finding the relevant papers, figuring out what kind of data is in that paper. Okay. Thank you. Yep. Then trying to figure out what are the entities in that paper. And then, sort of the final thing of trying to actually get it to assist you in your creation process by getting the entity concepts. And at least we've had success with some of these things and not with others. So since I'm one of the co-organizers, I took the opportunity to put a couple slides up about some of the history of MGI and machine learning and the different things that we've tried to do this. So We get between 12 to 14,000 papers a year that we're trying to bring in, sort through, and figure out, all right, what do we actually need to fully curate? What can we just sort of index and move on? What do we need to throw out? And then I started digging through the literature, and I can find papers from more than a decade ago of us trying various approaches. One of the things we had really found is we absolutely have to have full text because people don't like to mention that they're using mice in the abstract. They just take it as a given that if they're using mice, they're using mice. And sometimes they don't mention mice until you're in the supplemental data. And then what we've really sort of found that has worked for us is the literature retrieval and sort of the categorization to say what group does this have data for as sort of the primary targets to automate. And I took a presentation from Cynthia Smith of our latest pipeline. She had like 20 slides. I condensed it to one, so the text is a little smaller than I might like. But the idea is we pull in papers, full text papers. Most of them are automated from PubMed or Elsevier. We convert all those PDFs into text so that you can run text over this. We load them into MGI. Then we throw out everything where the word mice is only in the references. And then we do a bunch of keyword searches to figure out what group is it for. And that's where sort of the machine learning that I would have to ask Jim Caden to explain to me again, because I'm always on the using end and not so much on the building end. So hopefully our panelists can also get more into the details. But what we have found for this is this has actually worked pretty well for us. Some of the things we found is that, at least when we were setting this up, there was a real imbalance in our training sets. Sorry. Oh, like suddenly I'm hearing myself, and that's throwing me. Because when the curators were going out and getting the papers, we didn't retrieve papers where we decided at looking at it, we didn't need it. So obviously all those true negatives were sort of at least for us, we've never found really a production usable name entity recognizer. For genes, for strain names, for anatomy terms, for diseases, it's just the literature that we have doesn't work out. I think some other groups have had better success because their literature may be a little better at giving them that information. So one of the things we're doing to try to improve ourselves for the future is we're trying to keep some of those true negatives. We're also, in part of our curation process, when we review what the learning, what the algorithm has brought in and categorized, we have both the confidence scores and we have the ability to track what a curator says is actually a true positive from what the algorithm predicted was going to be a true positive. So we're really hoping that those sort of confidence scores and the ability to track the history will help us moving forward. So then I have a number of panel discussion questions. So if I could get my panelists to come up, please. And we're going to just start with each of the panelists introducing themselves. There are a couple mics with the seats. Yeah, so we can all sit for this. We don't have to stand. It can be much more conversational. Have each of you introduce yourself and a little bit about what your history is with attempting to do this. And then we will discuss, and we have the questions to start. And I'm really hoping that I have to say very little in this part. So I don't need that anymore.